So guys, this marks the beginning of this next few weeks of teachings on the end times of mankind. And this has to be the most exciting and terrible teachings contained within God's Word and of course the mind of God. As a former local church pastor, I've taught and preached this many times, over the years, and I've never sort of come across so many questions that arise from the end times of mankind, like the book of Revelations and everything that goes around that. So if you're hungry, these teachings will be absolutely amazing. You will really enjoy it. The way that it just opens up and the energy and the life, it's just tremendous. The reality, the truth, and great and terrible things. Great and terrible things. You always say that when it comes to the end times of mankind. So to answer a few questions really quickly, no, we're not in the tribulation. No 666 isn't here. The Antichrist isn't here. Armageddon's not about to happen, but they will. So I want to take you guys on a journey, time traveling forward to the book of Revelations. And we'll go through the sequence of events that will take place, how it will affect people, how it will affect the world, and it'll be so exciting. And you really will, if you're hungry, you will love this stuff. You will just lap it up. So everything from the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, to the sun and the moon being darkened, and from all sea life killed, the great worldwide earthquake and everything that's in between and around. So strap yourselves in, people, because here it comes. This is going to be good. Can't wait. Really just can't wait to share all this with you, And as always, I'm a former local church Christian pastor, so I try to preach and teach things quite basically and simple, just so we can all sort of understand and get it. So hopefully it'll be nice and easy, just nice and easy to digest and take on board, But first, a wee introduction about me, and this is extremely important because we're dealing with God and God's Word. So if you don't know me already, my name's Pastor Stephen Birnie, and I was saved, what we call saved, when I was 9 years old, when I gave my life to the Lord. And I received my calling partly then, and then later on in 2002. And over that next 7 years, I was prepared for the ministry. I was a cell church overseer for a little bit of that time as well. But in 2009, after all that preparation, I pastored the youth and young adults at our local church, which still remains. I just always smile when I talk about that because, it's just absolutely fantastic times. After that, I was an assistant pastor for 3 years, and we did home church pastoring as well. And of course, now we're doing the online pastoring. But during that time, in the sort of recent past, everything went a bit sideways when I went in for a simple hernia surgery, which is still got a hernia. But long story short, I ended up in a breathing machine, almost died 2 or 3 times. They thought I might have brain damage, my temperature shot up, and, I was in a cool suit and all these sorts of different things. And after that, I had to learn how to speak again and how to walk again. And the rehab is taken from then, and I'm still doing it now. It's all part of it. Nursing through and working through a brain injury. So in a lot of ways, I've kind of held off doing major teachings like this, because I was so used to before just being, just coming to mind, preaching and teaching. And of course, not so much now, but before it was just a little bit more difficult. And this is the time I think I've become myself, just feel really comfortable sitting here sharing. So one of the reasons I've shared that, guys, is because this isn't just something I've read in a book. I've had to be a local church Christian pastor. I've seen the joy that it brings, the conversation, changing people's lives. Just through these teachings alone, they're so exciting. But I've also had the criticism, the arguments, the sneers from the crowd, and all these different things. It's all part of it. But through all the pastoring, through all the end times teachings, all that type of work, these are the type of things, guys, that qualifies you to be able to preach and teach something like this. Contrary to popular belief in the world today, being a Christian does not give you the right to just teach and preach whatever you want, when you want. It is most certainly not a right. It's a privilege, an honour, and a real show of respect towards God that you go through the process before you get to speak into the lives of other people. This isn't one of the ways it's done. This is the way that it's done. God taking you through great victories, guys, and we've had some amazing times with God, and through great tribulations as well. You've got to have both. And when you've been through all that sort of stuff and proven yourself, or more, God's proven you, you step forward and you can speak into people's lives like that because you've been trained. And the other part of it as well is that you develop this great love for people that I think I had before anyway, in a way, but you have this great love and care for people, a huge respect for people as well, you know. Just love people. We always have, we always will. Just awesome. So hopefully through that, just that little bit, I just really wanted to give you a bit of confidence, a bit of credibility in where I'm coming from. It's very, very important. It's hugely important that you guys know that this doesn't just come from a book. You know, this is something that I've had to study through and study through and study through and preach and teach and answer the questions. You go over and over in every single part. So in my teenage years, I fell away from God a bit. And when I came back to the Lord in 2002, I mean, I'd come back and what a mess, you know. And I was basically a real liar and manipulator. You know, that's really what I did. And it wasn't evil and wicked. It was more from a place of fear. You know, there's the way people looked at you and all these sort of things, just reacting in a very bad way. So when I came back to God, it was just like this pure, you know, like drink a cold water on a scorching hot day, the truth, the reality. And I said to the Lord back then, you know, when I was actually called, I says, I cannot do this. I cannot do this if I doubt what I'm preaching and teaching. I just cannot do it, you know. So I may doubt, I may doubt myself at times, or my purpose. That's all part of being a person, being a Christian. But when it comes to these teachings, to the scriptural accuracy, I have not got one shred of doubt about what I believe and what I teach. Nothing. There's not even one part, because I couldn't do this if it was. I've had to spend this time, I've had to spend those years, because I cannot do it. I cannot sit here and share this stuff with you thinking that it's wrong somehow. I know it's right, 100%. Yeah, there's just no way I could do it. I just couldn't do it. There's no way. So enough about me as such, because you know, there's so many teachings and there's testimonies that I've shared about us and what we do and all the rest of it. But I really want to get to this end time stuff, this great end time stuff. You know, and most people in the world have heard of the, you know, the book of Revelations. You've heard the word rapture, I'm sure, tribulation period, Antichrist, mark of the beasts, all these things. And I mean every part of it I'm going to share with you, because it's such a passion. I enjoy it so much, you know. I want it to touch you, because I know it changes lives, guys. It really does. And you'll find that throughout these teachings that these things may look terrible all the way in the future. You'll see such a great and loving God through even that. So let's just give you a very quick little taste, okay? So as Christians, we believe that the world is about 6,000 years old, 4,000 years before Jesus, obviously, and then 2,000 years after. And at an unknown date in the future, Jesus is going to come back, not his second coming. He's going to come back in what they call the rapture. The true term for that is actually the catching away. The catching away. Then saints go to heaven, and there'll be a great tribulation on earth, 7 years, where God will met out 21 judgments altogether. That includes the 4 horsemen. At the end of that, when that time comes, he will come back on a second coming. And what happens after that is what they call what's called the millennial reign of Christ, which is 1,000 years. And at the very end of that is the great white throne of God, the great judgment. So these end times teachings, we're not going to really go into that 1,000 years. We're going to stay basically within that 7 years, because it's very, very clear. And like I said, there's 21 judgments of God, and I shared earlier in the video that some of these are massive. All sea life killed. 1/3 of all shipping destroyed. Then all shipping destroyed. You get the sun and the moon darkened. Worldwide economic problems. The Antichrist. Slavery. Boy, guys, if we think this is the tribulation just now, you haven't seen anything yet. But that's the great thing about where we live today, and that's something that I really want to reassure you, that this stuff is for later. You know, this will come, maybe not in my lifetime, who knows, but this stuff will come. And now it's supposed to be a joy that we're not in that period yet, that we're not living with the Antichrist, which is something different from Antichrists. There's Antichrists in the world just now, but there's not the Antichrist. The mark of the beast, you know, the only way that you can, with commerce, trading, money, all sorts of stuff. Israel comes in back into the world focus even more so than it does now. There'll be 3.5 years of peace in Israel, brokered by the Antichrist. There'll be 3.5 years of occupation after that, where the Antichrist breaks his promise. So Israel's a huge part of that when that time comes in Revelations. But you think it's just mind-boggling. I just want to take one little example. You know, a third of all shipping destroyed, and then you've got all shipping destroyed at some stage. Basically, from now, it's the only way to transport large amounts of goods across the world. We've seen crises happen. I think it was the Evergreen, wasn't it? The big container ship in the canal, and it went sideways and blocked, you know. And commerce around the world reverberated. Absolutely unbelievable. Just because that was blocking that canal. Imagine a third of all shipping's destroyed. Imagine when all of shipping is destroyed. Imagine if the third of sea life die, and then later in the tribulation, all sea life dies. All fresh water turns to bitter. Great worldwide earthquake. The sun and the moon darkened. The sun's heat increased. Crop production. Guys, this just, you will not believe how much amazing stuff is going to come out of this teaching. But it begins very much so with me giving you guys that little bit of credibility that I know what I'm talking about. And I've been there, I've done it, and I've seen it. I've had the arguments, the criticism, the wild arguments, but the great joy in it all. It is hugely exciting, hugely interesting. And if you're hungry, you're going to thoroughly... So I reckon enough for now, I think, eh? I really want to get going and getting into this teaching, you know. As always, you know, I'm a YouTuber, so please don't forget to like, subscribe and hit notifications. There's tons and tons of stuff on the Tribulation Soldier COMS channel, and our own personal testimonies, my qualifications for being a pastor, some really basic teachings that I really wanted to have in place first, and just explore it, enjoy it, you know, really enjoy it. And I just really want to keep on adding teachings and preachings to this channel, guys. I just want you to so enjoy it, so enjoy God, you know, be challenged, you know. Really, really enjoy it. See the reality, feel the truth. Because it's not that these things might happen, these things will happen. They really will happen, and it is coming. It could come at anything. So thank you so much for listening. I'm going to get this teaching series sort of recorded as quick as I can, so I can share it over the week, so you can just really enjoy it and take it in.